Hey guys, welcome to the Scientist Podcast. I'm your host Akram Al-Wahabi, and today our guest is Dr. Maryam Alkubati. She's a Yemeni gender equality and social inclusion specialist with a background both in IT and in social studies. She graduated from University of Utara Malaysia, where she got her bachelor's degree in information technology, majoring in information management. She got her master's and Ph.D. from University of Tsukuba in social studies. She's now working as a researcher and gender specialist with Sanaa Center for Strategic Studies and as a Diversity and Inclusion Facilitator with Enjoy Japan KK. The interview with Dr. Maryam was very educational for me, and I'm sure that many of you can enjoy and learn from what she said during the interview. As usual, before we get into the episode, I would like to ask you to subscribe and or follow this podcast. Follow if you haven't already, and let's get to the podcast. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. Today I'm with Dr. Maryam Alkubati. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you will share a lot of your background with us today, your research and everything. So in the beginning, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Yeah, sure. So hello everyone, I'm Maryam Alkubati. I've been in Japan for a good 8 years. I came here to do my master's and I did my PhD as well. Before that, I was in Malaysia, so I have a bachelor's degree in information technology as well. And yeah, I've been to or I've traveled and studied in other countries like the US as well as Nigeria. And yeah, more or less here I am today.
Perfect. I understand your PhD or your research is in like social sciences, right?
Yes.
Social studies. So I don't think I've interviewed many people, or I don't know many people with this background. So would you please share with us some of the information? Like, first of all, what are social sciences? And let's start from there.
Okay. Well, social sciences, I wouldn't say it's the opposite of natural sciences, biology and medicine and so on, but it's quite different in the fact that it has to do with things that affect us, our daily lives. We're looking at things like human rights, things like climate change, things like abuse, whatever it might be, anything that surrounds us in the international relations, politics, all of those are social issues, things that affect human beings. So more or less, that is what I study.
And again, I like starting stories from way behind. So
Yeah.
what got you interested in social sciences?
That's a really good question.
Social studies. I keep saying
yeah.
science.
It is social science.
Sciences? Okay.
I guess everything has a science nowadays.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting story. So as you may know, I told you my background is in IT. So I literally shifted my major completely from computer science to social sciences. So that is an entire shift that I did there. And maybe one of the core reasons as to why I did that was, well, first of all, I started my studies in Yemen and then I transferred to Malaysia. It was the days of the revolution, the Thawra. And during the revolution, most of the universities had stopped working. So I transferred to Malaysia and I finished my studies there. So as you may know, in Yemen, I wanted to do my studies in English, and there were not a lot of universities that offered courses in English. But I was lucky to have one university that's affiliated with a national university in Malaysia, and they had certain specific, maybe 4 programs that we could choose from. We had business, IT, interior architecture, and design, interior design or something. God, I am not good with anything to do with creativity. I have no skills. I cannot draw a cup to save my life. So no interior design for me. Business is something I studied in high school and junior high school, so it wasn't too challenging, and I love challenges. So I was like, let's go for IT. I have no idea what it's about, and I was interested in learning about it. So I started IT. It was more of a challenge. I wouldn't say like I was bad. I was pretty good, I would say, at it. But my personality is an extrovert. I am quite an extrovert, so I love human beings. I remember in Malaysia, I was speaking to my professor, sorry to digress. She was teaching us software engineering. And, I submitted my project. She was like, oh, this is really good, and so and so. And I said, okay, professor, I have a question for you. She said, what? I was like, what is the most human-related job in IT I could possibly do? And she's like, what? And I was like, okay, it's good. I code, I program, it's fun, but I get bored. I really get bored. I want to do the project, finish it, and that's it. I submit it. But I'm not really like, excited. Oh, let's I would do it as a challenge, but I wouldn't do it as a hobby, for example. So I was like, I want something to do with human beings. To interact with human beings. So she said, you could be a system analyst. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Anyways, that was one thing. I was like, okay, there's still some hope for me in IT. Let's keep going. Now, I graduated university. I came back to Yemen after being in Malaysia, studying and graduating. Situation was a little bit better at that time. I got a really good job at a very, very good company with oil and gas. It had a lot of prospects, but I couldn't get a job in IT. So as you know, in Yemen, you take what you can get, and especially for good jobs with good potential for the future. There was more potential in human resources or PR or other fields than there was in IT. The IT was very restricted to a few people, and most of them were men, to be honest. So it was very limiting, and I didn't like it in that sense. So that was one reason.
There were limited opportunities, or the job was limiting?
No, there were limited opportunities.
Limited opportunities. Oh, okay.
So the IT department is very small. They were male dominated. The woman would be administrative positions and so on, or you could get an IT maybe internship somewhere that paid very little. So it was not motivating at all, and I just didn't see myself doing that. So I was like, you know what? Anyways, it's something I just enjoy doing it. What I love about IT is applicable to any field. Technology is the future, right? So whatever we do, we need it. So anyway, I was like, let's move on. So I was working at the company, and I realized that whenever they had events, they would call me. Whenever they had, PR, they just loved me. They're like, you know what? We are even considering, we were talking about moving me to CRSD, corporate sort of service departments, because that was more my personality. They loved that in me, and I was very outgoing, and that was pretty much what they wanted me to do as well. So that was one of the reasons I realized, okay, this is something I'm more excited about. Also, growing up and my society, there are a lot of, as you may know, a lot of social issues in our society, especially when it comes to women. And I was always very much enthusiastic and passionate about things like that. And I guess that was another reason why I considered changing. So fast forward to where I am today, and that's why I decided to change my field.
So your bachelor's was in IT.
Yes.
Right. How did the opportunity come for you to pursue your postgrad studies? And obviously, I see you were interested in human beings and researching something that is going to do with human beings. So talk us through the process, how
it happened.
Yeah.
So I have to start by talking about my personality again, and I think it's really important for us as human beings to know who we are and how we sort of navigate our way in life. And I've noticed throughout the years, from when I was young, I'd always had this inclination or tendency to search for any opportunity to travel, or any opportunity to just go explore the world. Wherever there's an opportunity, I'm like, where do I apply? I'm like, yes, let's go. My parents had a hard time with that. But from the age of 16, whenever there's something, I'm like, yes, I will apply. I will deal with my parents later. So I was very excited about the world and exploring, new cultures, speaking with people from all over the world. It was like, there was a whole world out there that I had no idea about. And it was just fascinating. I was like, I really want to do that. So traveling has always been a driver for me, no matter what. So that is, we have to put that, on one side. Now, other than the fact that I love to travel, I really, really, really love Japan. I've loved Japan for about 5 years while I was in Yemen.
What do you
not
mean,
now.
What do you mean loved it for 5 years?
I had loved, well, I shouldn't say had. I still do. Japan still has a special place in my heart. But at that time, I had been following Japan and Japanese culture for a good 5 years, I would say.
So that was
from the beginning of my university level. So I got introduced to animation, pretty much how many of us has gotten the opportunity or to know about Japan. So I remember, just to tell you the story, sorry to digress again, every evening, around 4 p.m, 5 p.m, that's when everybody's at home. My uncle and my brother would stick to the TV, like literally on the TV screen, watching this animation called Naruto at that time. And I would say, what is wrong with you? Every day you're binge watching this. What is up with this, And they're like, you know what, just come and watch. I'm like, nah. One day I was really bored. I was like, you know what, let's just sit and see what it is. And I remember I came at the episode of Gaara and Naruto the first, before the Shippuden, when they were having that fight.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was about that thing that captivated me. From there on, 8 years later, I'm in Japan. So, that's proof to you how impactful that episode was.
Right.
So,
So I think for me it was the same. Like I wouldn't say like I came to Japan because of animation, but it definitely had a very big role because of it. And yes, Naruto was the first animation that I see, and it was, I think, Rock Lee versus Gaara.
very nice. Yes, I remember
Very
it
nice.
vividly.
I remember it. And
Yes.
my brother, my youngest brother,
Yeah.
was watching this on the computer, and a very similar story to yours. He was just watching, and I'm like, people are just jumping on the screen, and I'm like, what are you watching? And
Yeah.
he's like, this is like anime. I'm like, the hell is anime? I'm like, and he's like, it's in Japanese, that means cartoon. And I'm like, do you want to see? And I'm like, maybe not. But then I said maybe not, but I stayed,
Okay.
and I was watching, and I just completely
Hooked.
got hooked on like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know how to reel us in.
Which is really interesting, because one of the things that I discovered while I was in Japan is 80% of the cartoons we watch growing up are Japanese animation. Captain Tsubasa, Captain Majid,
Yeah.
like everything. But we see it in Arabic, we have no idea.
Exactly, and it's really old.
Yes.
When I came to Japan and I started asking, like, people I know, and like, do you know that cartoon? And they were like, yeah, but that's really old.
Old.
We didn't even see that. That was like my father's generation. Like Conan, or like
Conan,
Adnan
Detective
Warina.
Adnan Warina.
Yeah, they were like, no, that's like very long ago. That's very kind of
Yes.
like, really, you're watching that? And I'm like, everybody's watching that.
it.
Like, we grew up watching that, right? Like,
So,
yeah. So you became interested in Japan, and then
So yes,
yeah?
I decided to, again, I finished university, and my goal was, I studied hard. Of course, I was good. I got really high CGPA, and I was like, okay, this is my turn. I can literally apply anywhere I want. I was looking at the US for Fulbright. I was looking at the Erasmus Mundus, and I was looking at the Japanese one, because I wanted to come to Japan. The thing is, I had a friend who came here on mixed undergrad. I think till today, he might be the only person who got the undergrad.
Remind me of his name.
Taha.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've heard of him. I never met him though.
He is the only one that, I'm sorry, maybe I said his name. I don't know if I,
It should be fine. Yeah.
it should be
Like,
fine. Yeah,
Just mention names. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them all here.
yeah.
next time.
Right?
Yeah.
No, but he's not here anymore. But
Really?
anyways, yeah, he has left. But because he was here,
Mm.
what he did was, he had already told me a lot about it. So I didn't feel I was coming to a completely alien place.
Mm.
I felt, okay, there's somebody that would help me if I needed anything or I had any questions. So I did, seek his advice quite a bit. And he was in Yokohama, but I was going to be in Tsukuba. So I did ask him a lot of questions, and that helped me a lot. Now, because of that sort of helped me feel a bit more confident about, coming here. But I also love challenges, as I said. So I could go to the US, but it's very convenient. It's English speaking. It might be really good at social sciences, to be honest. But again, this would be a challenge. It would be new language, new culture. It would be a growing experience that will help me grow. So I was like, you know what, let's do it. Plus, I got it earlier, like before the Fulbright, because the Fulbright I had to prepare, and it would take me another year. And thank God I did that, because 6 months within me coming to Japan, the
War
war
started.
started. So
Yeah.
yes.
You
So it
took
was
the
the
right
right
step.
choice. It was the right
Yeah.
choice. I did
I was
not.
about to ask you, like, do you regret it or not? But like, you immediately answered, like,
I do not
Yeah.
regret it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy. Many people did try to convince me otherwise, but I'm happy. I stuck to my.
I mean, it's okay. So about your field of study,
Yes.
well, what did you choose to study? What was your research about? Talk to us about it.
Okay, so again, back to social sciences. So the reason I did social sciences specifically is because in Japan, the way the graduate school works is a little bit different, maybe from other countries. They don't have departments that are specialized in one particular field. You go to social science department, and then you can study political science, human science. You can literally study anything, but they're all under one umbrella called social sciences. So because of that, that's why my degree is under social sciences. But what I studied was gender and politics. My thesis was specifically on women's participation in parliaments, national parliaments. For my master's, I look at both Japan and the Arab region. Specifically, I look at Tunisia. So I looked at the head of states, which is head of governments, and sort of the policies that they introduced to empower women and how that has sort of impacted women's status in particular societies, in this case, Japan and Tunisia. It was a very, very interesting story that I will tell you about later as to why I chose those particular countries. For my PhD, on the other hand, I shifted completely to the Arab region, and I looked at Tunisia and Jordan, and I looked at the kind of policies, because there's a lot of scholarly works out there saying that we need to have more women in parliament. But then, other than just having more women, it's important to show the impact that women can have. And I think that is more a better way of persuading people or the governments to increase women's participation, is to show them the impact that women can actually have. And a lot of the studies that exist mostly focus on women. Okay, increase women to deal with women's issues. And it's sort of a little bit contradictory, because women should not only deal with women's issues, but they might have a say in other aspects. It's not men's traditional issues are women's issues, and soft issues are more women's issues, and more hardcore issues like energy and military are more men's issues. So sort of what I wanted to do is to share women's experiences in the national parliament themselves, what kind of policies they promoted, what kind of backgrounds they come from, because even women as themselves, they generally put us as one homogeneous group, Arab women, and I really wanted to sort of dissect and see who are these women themselves, what backgrounds do they come from, what are they, what their socio-economic level, their educational level, all of that.
And
sort
this
of
like generalization thing is I know that humans, generally speaking, if you take us as one group, we basically behave in a certain way, kind of together. But then I guess when you're trying to do studies and basically dissect, you shouldn't really kind of group everyone all together. Like Arab women, like what are women? Which one? Like
Exactly.
which one? Like
Exactly.
I mean we're both from Yemen, so I think Yemeni women are like
Very
completely different, like from Egyptians, or like from Jordanians, or like from Tunisians.
Exactly.
And like
Exactly.
every country has its own kind of
Yes.
characteristics, right?
Yes. But again, policy is something that tends to be more consistent. Not completely, of course. Historically, it might be different, and different aspects. But sort of the policies, the approaches, and we have to acknowledge that we do have certain aspects that sort of bind us together. Things like religion, things like culture. Although that can be arguably in another sense, but generally those are aspects, the Arab identity or whatever, those are.
Yeah, but don't you think, like, even if you come to culture or religion, it's kind of practiced differently
Yes.
in different regions,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. But I what I'm trying to say specifically in this case is just that you could argue that to a certain degree, there is a commonality there in terms of identity in general. Now, when you go in deeper, it's very different. But from sort of an abstract point of view, you can say, okay, they have this commonality. So as a result, I can do a study on them to find the differences now that exist. You get it? So, yeah.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, so you said like you're going to go back to it again, like
Yes.
like the masters.
So now the process itself is very different. So I came to Japan, and the way I'm a MEX scholar, which means I got a scholarship from the Japanese government. Maybe the only person from social sciences that got this. I don't even know how I convinced them, but yeah, there were a lot of medical students, and in my year, an engineering student as well. But anyway, I came here, and what we do is we do 1 year of research. And within that 1 year of research, the first 5 to 6 months are intensive Japanese course for you to learn Japanese. And then the next 6 months is sort of for you to find out your topic and to prepare for the entrance exam. Now, if you pass the exam, then you can start your master's program. So you have a year there. Sort of the good thing is, you have some time to sort of look. I don't know whether it's a good thing or bad thing, but anyways. So I had a year there, and I studied Japanese. It was a really good experience. I met amazing people. Now, the last 6 months was pretty much me just doing random things, because my professor didn't really care where I was much, more or less, because you're just you're not yet a student. So, take your time, study and prepare. It's not really. It's more like you getting used to the society and the
You're
environment.
not my problem yet.
Yeah,
Kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just prepared maybe the last couple of months for the exam. I took the exam, I passed. Now that is when we start to talk. Okay,
what exam is it?
We have to take written examinations and do an interview.
Now, on what?
On social sciences. So you do get different. So you have an exam paper, and what happens is it will have, because social sciences is a broad topic, right?
Yeah.
So you could have something on political science, something on education, something on, and you choose one or two to answer on. So you just share your opinions, do some referencing. It's not too difficult, to be honest. Even though I came from a IT background, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah. So this is what I have zero knowledge about social sciences too. I'm gonna say that, to be honest. But if you're dealing with like material science or like life sciences, right? You have, I mean, it's 1 + 1 = 2, right?
Yes.
But when it comes to your subjects, like I remember a guy talking to me about him answering the exams like during his undergrad or whatever. He said one could answer this question in like a couple of lines, and the other one could write a whole page, and they both could be correct.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that?
That is the thing with social sciences. That was the biggest maybe hurdle for me, was coming from an IT background whereby, yes, you code something, debug it, check it out, any errors, fix it, ta-da, you're done. I mean, it's not that easy, but generally you see the outcome, you know where the errors are, you fix them, life is good. With social sciences, you need to read a lot. There's a lot of school of thoughts. There's different perspectives, and you can choose which one you feel you agree with more, or which one is more applicable to your particular case. So as long as it's convincing, you can reference, so you need to study a lot and learn about philosophy, learn about social scientists, their different works, so that when you come to answer the question, you're able to reference these people to show that you know about this field, you know who are the main scholars in this field, and how this is applicable to whatever social issue they might present you with. So more or less that is what it is. So you need to study a lot and find which school of thought you feel you connect more with, and that is sort of your strong sort of basis for why in the way you move around in life as well. So,
I see. So
we take the exam, we finish. So I passed the exam, and now we're ready for masters. I had no idea what this masters is going to be about. My professor, so you can get different types of professors. You can get a full hands-on professor who wants to know everything you do,
micromanage
you. Exactly. You can have completely hands-off. Do whatever you do. At the end, come once every 3-4 months, show me what you did, and we're good. That was my kind of professor. Maybe for the first year, it might not have been the best approach for me, but he trusted me a lot. And I think the fact that he trusted me gave me a lot of confidence that I could do it. So it was more like me managing my time the way I wanted to manage it. I would come, I'd present ideas. He would give me some ideas, but they would never sort of tell you, do A, B, C. He would say, okay, consider this, consider that, and go ahead. That's it. 10 minutes. I'm done with him. I see him after 5 months.
So tell me a little bit more about your master's program.
Yes.
Like, was there like a system to it? Was there like, I know you said like it's a bit different from everywhere else and special, but can you go a little bit, explain it a little bit?
Okay.
Not deep,
But
just like
general.
if somebody is interested, like they would know what to expect out of the program.
Very good. So social sciences, again, this might differ depending on the university that you apply to, department you apply to, but let me give you a general sense in terms of what I came across. As I said, you have 6 months to prepare. Generally, what will happen is your professor is going to be one of the members of the team or committee who set the questions. So if your sensei mine was political science, he was civil society, he will set a question in political science. So he would tell me, make sure you answer the political science question because I'm on the committee for political science. And he would share a couple of books for me to read and say, these are most important. So now I would take that and I would prepare. Now, if you're interested in education and your professor is under education, you're going to answer the question in education. And then now you are going to do a lot of the rest of your 2 years or 3 years, whatever, is going to be mostly, you can take other courses, of course, but mostly going to be in that particular field. Now, my sensei, as I said, civil society, political science. So I have to take, of course. So how it happens, and maybe it's the same for natural sciences, you have to take your sensei's, your professors' classes. You must. It's a must. Seminars, classes, whatever they may be, you have to take all of them. So those are some of the courses you take. So you have a specific set of courses that you need to do. I think for masters, it's 30 courses within the 2 years that you need to finish. And those 30 courses can be anything within your department. So generally, you can choose something, of course, always what your professor takes. You'll have electives, you'll have different topics. You go in, you join. It's mostly a lot of discussion, a lot of reports, not exams, which is not what I was used to. Back home, we had a lot of tests, but here is write a paper on so and so. And I'm like, I don't know what this is about. So yeah, the only time I did research was research for IT, and it was very different. So while you take your courses, which are these 30 courses, you have to be doing your thesis in parallel and trying to find your thesis. And that is not easy. I was telling him this analogy earlier. I said, imagine yourself being taken to the sea or the ocean, and somebody tells you swim. You don't know where to swim, how to swim, when to swim, and just like swim. So literally that is what happened to me, is find your way. I don't know, like guide me. Nope. It's your responsibility. And there's so many books, there's so much to catch on. It was unbelievable. But anyways, so what I did was I started writing a couple of proposals. At first I wanted to do international relations because I really wanted to just do my master's, and after my master's I was really hoping to study Japanese well and then go back and be like an ambassador or a bridge between Japan and Yemen. So that was my initial dream.
Yeah.
Got crushed. And it's not. There's still hope.
You never know though, right?
Yeah, you never know. But anyway, so I wanted to do international relations. We talked to my professor because he's more to civil society. We talked about that a lot. Then I decided, okay, I want to do something on Yemen, of course. So I want to do civil society. And my professor said that's saturated. There's a lot of scholarly literature on it. And right now with the situation at that time, which was because of the war, it might be very difficult to get data.
Yeah.
So he was like, please reconsider it. And then, I thought about it for some time. I was like, okay, the other thing I really want to study is gender, women specifically. And I said, okay, I want to do something on women. He's like, okay, cool. But you need to do something in Japan too. And I'm like, how do I connect? How do I possibly bring, because in social sciences, political science, whatever it may be, when you come to write your thesis and when you're doing comparative or case studies, there needs to be a very, very convincing reason as to why you're comparing or studying two particular cases. You can't just say today, I feel like studying A and B.
You have to justify your
you have
research,
to really
right?
justify it, right?
Yeah.
So there was Japan and the Arab world are very different from each other. So it was really difficult. Now, one thing I did know was I wanted to study policy and politics, right? So I said, okay, let's look at the Arab region and sort of find which countries are doing well in terms of women's empowerment. And at that time, it was the Abe administration, who is the longest serving prime minister of Japan. He resigned in 2020. So what I had done was I was like, okay, the Abe administration right now is promoting women's empowerment. So at that time, what he had done was the Abe administration, just to give you a quick idea, was the Japanese economy is in a really bad shape. It's sinking. It's even worse nowadays.
Yeah.
So generally what he did was he introduced 3 structural reforms, pillars of how to revive the economy. And one of them was womenomics, which is bringing more women into the economy, and that would sort of help the GDP growth in general. So I was like, okay, he's trying to introduce reforms. And when I look at Tunisia, which is العاصمة المرأة العربية, which is like the capital of Arab women, in 1956, the Habib Bourguiba, which was the first president after the independence of Tunisia, introduced policies to empower women. And from then on, a lot of women empowerment sort of reforms were introduced on policies. Arguably, there's a lot there, of course, to be discussed, but generally introduced a lot of policies, which is why Tunisia is where it is today, right? So I was like, okay, there's a reference point there, right? So now when I found that sort of link, I was like, okay, I can make, 2 case studies and sort of connect them. Not really compare, but just make a study and use it as a reference point of how, head of states could introduce certain policies and the opportunities and challenges that come up with that. So generally, that was what I did for my master's. So I decided finally, after maybe, this is the easy the summary. This was after more than 10 proposals of different types and being rejected by the professor until I reached the one that, he was okay with. And it's like, okay, go ahead.
Did he like give you a few options to go through, or like direct you in a certain way, or just he left everything up to you and then you decided which research to go?
Completely up to me, only because he's not an expert in the Arab region. He's not an expert on gender. I tried to touch his topic, so you could do two things. He has a lot of data. He has a very high position in the university, so he had his own data which you could just use. But you need to know Japanese. I did not know Japanese then.
What
so-
data do you work with?
Okay.
Like you say he has a lot of data. What kind of data do you work with?
So data can be in different forms: interviews, surveys, questionnaires, so many different forms. So generally they would conduct a questionnaire, maybe 500 people, 1,000 people. And then after that, they would conduct interviews, open interviews, closed interviews, focus group interviews. And they would have a bunch of data on a particular topic. And then they need someone to sort of screen through it and clean it and then write a topic on a specific area. So, but a lot of the data was in Japanese. So most of the Chinese students who came and knew kanji were able to take his data, but I couldn't.
Oh.
So he was like, okay, then you have to find something of your own. But generally, it's you and yourself. And the worst thing I think about Japan specifically, there's a lot of great things. But one thing when it comes to research is that your professor both my professors, both my master's and my PhD, your professor might not necessarily and highly probably not be in your field. And because of that, you have to do a lot of the work yourself. My professor for, as I said, my master's was civil society, and he was overseeing gender. He was overseeing other social issues, like the most random and different media, like so many different topics. It's unbelievable. So the same thing for my PhD. She was a media expert, so she was really good at research, but not at my field. So a lot of that has to do with you networking and finding the resources yourself.
So the outcome of your research in your like master's, and what were the outcomes first, like from your master's research? What did you find out?
Okay, so from my master's research, again, as I said, I was mostly looking at the aspect of Japan, or focusing mostly on Japan and Tunisia as a reference point. But what I would say is top-down reform is not necessarily a positive thing, a good thing, just to keep it very simple. Because one thing I realized was I was sort of looking at the speeches and the different policies that the prime minister would talk about in the parliament or in general speeches and international media when he makes them. And then I look at the actual targets on the ground and what is actually happening when it comes to implementation, and there was a huge gap there. So there was a huge rhetoric whereby they would say what they want people to hear, but when it comes to implementation, there's still a lot that needs to be done. Of course, a couple of years is not enough to sort of measure that, but still, till today, we're at 2022, the gap is still quite big. So in terms of reaching the targets, it's far from.
And for a country like Japan, you would expect women to to hold a bigger role in the society, but that's not necessarily the case now, is it?
Exactly. So the democratic state of a country or the level of socioeconomic development does not directly translate into equality. So no matter how
Not even the
advanced,
education?
not necessarily. So Japan has one of the highest education levels for women in the world.
Yeah.
However, the women are well educated. They go to university. Once it comes after graduating, they get married.
But is that like,
quit.
I don't know, I'm asking you like, because this is basically your research field, and I'd really love your opinion on that. I think when it comes to equality, Japan is ranked very, very low. I think as low as some of Middle Eastern countries or whatever. Like, I think I heard of a study or like some research. I don't exactly remember what it is, but it's really ranked Japan that low. Is it really that bad? And why is it that bad?
So, I mean, it is true that we look at numbers to sort of define what is equality and what is not equality. I don't completely agree with that sometimes because countries like many countries in the Arab region, I don't want to specify, have more equality. If you're going to look at specific cases, for example, let's look at national parliament. Countries like Rwanda are the highest in the world. Rwanda is number one. I don't know if it's been beaten the record yet. Rwanda has 60% or more representation of women in national parliaments. So if you were to look at that, you would say Rwanda has more equality. But again, I do not completely agree that indices are the only sort of measure for us to define women's empowerment. Japan has a lot to do when it comes to specific sectors. So, for example, there's so much I can talk about. I do not want to complicate this, but let's make it quite simple. In when we talk about equality, we talk about different sectors. You're looking at health, you're looking at education, you're looking at political participation, economic participation. So you look at different, and then you sort of analyze, and based on that, you see where the country ranks.
Yeah.
So Japan does very well in health, very well in education. Politics and economy is very low. So that is what makes it lower. So we do know that Japan needs to work more on including more women in the economy and in politics. But in other aspects, they're one of the best in the world.
Right.
Yes.
And it's a bit. I also don't realize, even in, like, I'm a dentist and I see dentists around me, and dental students, like, as always, for some reason in dentistry, there's always a huge number of female, like, dentists, right?
Yeah.
Even compared to male dentists. In Yemen, it's hugely disproportionate. Like, it's a lot more female dentists than male dentists. In Japan, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say at least it would be kind of 50-50. Maybe I don't have exact numbers. Though.
Okay.
The problem, though, is that after they graduate, like, you would first work as a practitioner in a dental clinic with a senior dentist who owns the clinic, right? And very, very few dentists proceed from being someone who works in a clinic till having their own dental office, right? And this is kind of makes it a bit difficult for kind of representation for female dentists, Japanese female dentists worldwide. There are very few, like, leading female dentists, Japanese female dentists, and and therefore, like, you would see most dental faculties are hugely male.
Yes.
Like, very few female dental professors compared to other countries.
Yes.
And I wonder, like, how do you I don't know,
Explain
how
that.
do you explain that?
Yes.
Like, why is that happening?
So that is where social science comes to play, right?
Yeah.
So we look at these social issues and we say, okay, what is happening here?
Yeah.
We interview, we collect data, we ask, and we look at policies, we look at the reality on the ground, and we sort of examine and identify what could be the probable cause, right? I haven't checked for dentists, so I cannot say exactly, but one thing that I found generally in the Japanese society is that there is definitely something societal, whether it's the corporate culture, whether it's the social norms. There are different aspects that you have to consider as to why this is. One of them I could talk to you about is the policy aspect. Till today, Japan has a policy that reduces taxation on families if the mother or if one partner isn't working. So that is something to look at, because that is a good policy to have, because it reduces the burden on families. But at the same time, many cases, it's better for the family, for the woman to work, for example, part-time or in small positions, because it's less burden on the family. And it's really, financially difficult here in Japan, as much as people think that Japan is a very well developed country and they get good pays, but it's not really easy financially for most of the Japanese.
Yeah.
So those are things you have to look at. It's the reality on the ground. So yeah, those could be child rearing is one of the major issues that came up in politics as well, and in economy in general. Many women get married and they stay home, or when they have kids, because again, you have to look at how different the society is. For example, in our society, you live with close by or close to your mother, your grandmother. You know, there's a whole family, there's a whole community sort of supporting you more or less. It's much different. Here, they're pretty much alone and secluded. So it takes a lot of time, effort, energy in which they need to. It's really difficult for them to be able to manage the family, right? So they always use that as the reason why, or whenever we have interviews, they say, well, child rearing takes so much time and effort, and we can't manage. And considering the corporate culture in Japan, whereby you need to dedication is core to how Japanese are.
Yeah.
It comes down most probably to if you look back in history, Japanese have always been agriculturals, they're farmers, right? So, the longer you work, the more you reap. Right? Unlike with the West, for example, there are always hunters, which is more about efficiency and so on. So those are things you have to look at. Now, in terms of Japanese, because of that culture of, hard work and so on, women cannot do all of that and manage. The double burden is not easy. And because of that, it's just so much easier to just do part-time and be able to manage the
Still
household.
have a household.
Yes.
Okay, so this was, I don't know, we kind of,
touched in
we
different
touched in different
places. I told
places,
you
but like this was like your master's studies,
yes,
right?
Yes.
How about your PhD? Like, how did it?
Okay, so for my PhD, I had a little bit more control.
First of all, before, like, why did you decide to go into PhD? Like, it's PhD,
You're reminding me of my pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I said earlier, I really wanted to be an ambassador. I just wanted to do my master's. I was really not hoping to do a PhD. Unfortunately, because of the war in Yemen, I just decided to continue with my PhD because I still had no idea what was going to happen in Yemen. And I didn't know if I could go back. I really had no idea. And I thought, it's not a bad thing. You still get scholarship and you can still sort of do something and add something to your CV while I sort of configure what I want to do next. So mostly that was the driver. That's realistically speaking. And I think the reality for most PhD students, especially MEC students that I have met, is many of them take that route because there's not enough time between the master's and the PhD to really configure what you want to do next. Again, depending on your field and what.
Okay, so you decided to pursue your PhD.
So I decided to pursue my PhD. I was like, it's so far research has been fun. Let's keep going. Let's keep at it. So I continued. I had a lot of obstacles. My professor retired within a year, so I had to change professors. Now, that's just one thing across many other things, personal issues that happened that made my first year close to not doing anything for my PhD. So the first year was really, really hard for me. Now, the second year, I had a new professor. She had new ideas, different from my professor. And she was more hands-on in comparison to my other professor. So, she was, in terms of guidance, it was good. It was really good because of her, I learned how to do research. Like I got the skills. It was difficult. I got the skills, but it wasn't easy.
But do you feel like you learned more with the professor that lets you do everything by yourself, or with the hands-on professor?
That's gonna be difficult. Because there are two different cases. By the time I reached my PhD, I'd already gained some skill sets, but I would say with her, I still gained more, or I learned more. But again, I will not lie that because the other professor was still on my committee when I moved to PhD, his support was still really important to me. And the support he gave me was partially the reason I finished on time. Because I had 2 years to finish my PhD. It was almost impossible. It was no, it's nobody will do that. No way. And I remember speaking to my professor and she said, listen, this is the advice she gave me. She said, in PhD, you will do what you need to do to graduate, and then do what you want to do after you graduate.
Yes.
So that is, she was honest. So she's not Japanese. She's married to a Japanese, but she's from the West. So she's Canadian. So she understood sort of the reality on the ground. So it was quite insightful. It was nice to have that sort of different perspective and the reality of, okay, this is what you're dealing with. So I remember going to her and I said, and I think many people, maybe not many people do this, I said, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? And I will do it.
I would say like this is, this is a good approach to go by it. Many people don't. Many people, I don't know, like, I think many people, especially the ones that get lost in PhD, are the people who really want to do a lot and want to, they aim really high, I think. And I don't know, but I don't think that this is the best way to go about it.
Yes.
I think you need to balance your expectations
And the
and
reality.
then things that you can do to just, just graduate.
Yes. We have 3 years. 3 years. So what I realized when I started working later on, I was interacting with Japanese scholars, was they would do their PhDs for up to 5 to 7 years, sometimes 8 years. They would do it part-time, and in the meantime, they would be lecturing, they would be doing different things. So by the time they graduate, they have the years of experience teaching and whatnot, and they have the network, and they're in.
Mhm.
Unlike what we do, we come in, you have a scholarship, you have 3 years, you need to figure everything
You
out,
gotta
do
finish
everything,
it
and
within
do
the
it.
3 years, right?
So that's the reality. It's not easy. You need to consider all of that. I would say the fact that I had a Canadian professor might have helped maybe that form of communication.
Mhm.
But again, my previous professor was open as well in general and just wanted me. He was really, supportive and said, I really trust you. You're really good at what you do. Just go for it. So that was good. But my PhD professor, was very hands-on. So I told her, I remember I did very well until my first defense. So we have three defenses to do. So my first, which is public defense,
Mhm.
I did my public defense and I passed. Then my second defense, which is the main one, if you don't pass that, you cannot graduate. And I went to her and she said, well, you did a lot of changes that you did not really consult with us and so on. And it was really hurting, right? And she said, I'm not sure if you can graduate on time. I'm like, I'm so close. What are you
What?
talking about? I'm right there. And
Yeah.
I said, tell me, give it to me. Tell me because I went into straight depression, right? Because I've been doing this for so long and it was light at the end of the tunnel. I'm almost
Yeah.
out. And they would find a way to make you feel,
This is a thing in Japan. I don't know. So many people told me the exact kind of same story. And I don't know. You said she's Canadian, right?
yes.
Did she learn this from Japan or what? Like, they wait for you until like you're there, you're almost graduating, and then they would tell you this sentence, the exact same sentence. I don't see you graduating like this, or I don't think you're gonna be able to graduate like this, or this is not enough for you to graduate. While you've been working with them for a long time, so what's that all about? Like, what came up?
Exactly.
Yeah, in your
And it
case,
was-
what came up?
So to be honest, I did very well in my public defense. So I had a lot of time in my hand, and I said, okay, let me make it even better. And I added some stuff. And then when I added some stuff, I did not really consult, which is the negative thing. If you do something on your own without consulting and them agreeing, that can play really badly. But it was not just me. Even the other girl who was with me, she also had similar comments. Anyways, we sat down, we talked, and I felt horrible. It was really bad. And the thing that helped me the most was the community. We have, your lab or study room. For us, it was very international. So we just go, once you go into that room, it's like whoa, you're like this and that. You rant your life out, and everybody shouts and complains and gets angry. So it was like therapy for us.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that, and I felt better. And I had a lot of friends who were supportive and listened to me, and complained about their own issues. So having that sort of similar sort of community really helps. And I remember I'm a person who I want to do something because I don't have time. So I literally told her, what do I need to do? I will do it. She's like, time. I was like, tell me what I need to
get it
do.
over.
It doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
will do it. Not to be cocky or anything. I was like, I've put too much time and effort into this. What is it? If I don't do it, you can say whatever. But tell me each and every step. And if I don't do it, fine. I will do it. There's no such thing as time. The time is...
Just
it's
let me
not
know
an
what
issue
I
for
gotta
me.
do.
So anyways, she told it to me and I managed to do everything, and somehow I graduated. I did graduate on time.
Okay, so with your PhD, first of all, let's touch a little bit about your PhD and what was it about and what were the outcomes of your PhD.
Okay.
And later on we'll talk about things that were difficult, like
Okay.
the most difficult parts and most
Okay.
fun parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my PhD, as I said earlier, was about women in national parliament, specifically in Jordan and Tunisia. I wanted to do Morocco too, but there was an issue with their site, so I couldn't get data from there. But anyways, I ended up taking Tunisia and Jordan. So what I did was I examined the women in national parliaments, especially I chose those two countries because they introduced quotas.
Mhm.
And I wanted to see how quotas sort of translate into impact in the Arab region.
What do you mean? What do you mean by quotas?
Okay, quotas, very important. So gender quotas are a tool, a reform tool introduced by governments to ensure that there's more women represented in politics. For example, they will say, okay, 30% of women in parliament have to be women. It can either be one enforced on the parliament itself, it can be through the political party. There are different forms of quotas that can be introduced. But anyways, the idea is they set aside a certain percentage and they're like, okay, you have to have this many women filling the seats. So yeah, that was why I looked at it to see these women who are actually selected, what kind of women are they, what is their background, what do they actually do, what kind of policies do they promote similar policies to what has been said in other scholarly works, or are they different, is it different in these two particular countries or not. So yeah, that was what I looked at, and I realized that yeah, in these particular cases, Jordan and Tunisia, the women were very diverse. Even their interactions within the parliament was different. Those that were independent, those were affiliated to religious parties, those that were affiliated to independent or more liberal parties. So depending, all of that was different. And I sort of was able to identify the kind of policies they promoted and why they would promote that. And I realized that many of the women wanted to prove themselves more or less. That's the way I claim it. And as a result, they would engage in different discussions. It wouldn't just be women's issues, but women ran all the different topics that men would argue. But again, there was a lot of backlash in that case with men. For example, randomly in the parliament, somebody would insult, I don't want to say the insult, but something, like screw the quota or something, like
really?
this quota that brought these women here, or when they're angry, right? So things like that, you'd see language, you'd see interaction, you see so many things that are very, interesting in parliament. So generally that is what I look at, was in policy outcomes. Yes.
So I don't know, like you said, like getting that data, and like I'm sure like there were a lot of difficulties that you faced. So if you can point to one thing that was quite difficult that you went through, during your PhD, what would it be?
One thing that was very difficult. There's not just one thing, but
I'm pretty sure.
I will choose one that
Yeah.
I think you had pointed this out earlier about we come into PhD or even masters, but mostly PhD with big dreams, big ambitions, right?
Yeah.
It's like coming with a huge fish. I caught a fish, I'm good for life. And, the butcher takes a knife and gives you like the sushi thing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
where did my fish go?
Yeah.
So that is technically what is happening, is how to be very realistic. I went in with a lot of ambitions, and I had to bring them down. Like the idea of learning how to do a PhD. PhD is about very specific outcomes. A, B, C is learning how to bring all of that, everything you consume. You read a lot. There's so many, trying to identify the gaps, because there's a lot of research out there. There's so much. How do you know what you're doing is the right thing or the right way, or nobody has done it before, or will it even be useful? How to take those ideas that you have and fill it within the gap that exists and actually make something that would make a difference. I think that was not an easy thing for me. It took a long journey of research and trial and error, writing, rewriting. I had more than 50 different drafts of writing and rewriting my thesis and trying to make it come together. It's like an art. You have so many pieces, but you need to bring it together to make sense. And it's really difficult because it's very subjective.
I mean, it has to make a story, right?
Yes.
Like, and the story has to make sense.
Yes.
So
that story, that designing that
Yeah.
story, bringing it together so that I'm like, yes, that was the hardest and the most rewarding experience, because I gained skills now that I feel are very critical, because I'm writing a lot more easier right now because of those skill sets that I had gained. So yeah, that was the hardest, I would say.
that was like you mentioned that most difficult part was basically making up this story for your studies. What was the most fun part? Like what was the thing that like brought you inspiration and enjoyed a lot, and the good part of your PhD?
Okay, I would say there are two parts that are good in my PhD. One had to do with personal, community-wise, and one had to do with academic rewarding experiences. Let's start with the fun part, which is my community. So, which I would also recommend to future students who are interested in coming to do research. As much as places like Tokyo and very metropolitan cities are very sort of trendy and they seem captivating, there's a lot of distance between you and people around you. Finding a community is really hard. I was in Tsukuba. Tsukuba is like an hour from Tokyo by the TX. Because of that, I wouldn't say it's a rural, it's a science city. So it's quite developed. It's known for research, but it's not as developed as Tokyo, obviously. And there's a lot of space there. So it's cheaper to live. And that means the communities are more likely to be more connected, right? So we had Facebook groups, we had different sort of support systems around that would help foreigners. Till today, it's getting better and better. Advice, if you want to find something, whatever it is, there's a huge community there. Also because there are a lot of MEC students there, international students as well. You get to connect, meet people from different parts of the world. You choose your family. You get to choose who becomes part of your family, and it's a learning experience. So I think for me, it was learning to find the people that fit in my circle, people who I feel I connected with, regardless of where they're from, who they are, whatever it might be, finding that group. And for 8 years until now, I have that strong sort of support. Till now, we're in touch. So I think we had a huge community, a very, very, very positive, a good one that would be there all through no matter what. And also because it's a school campus, so you can always visit each other. It's really rewarding. My study room, or for you guys, lab, next to me was a guy from Serbia, who's a very good friend of mine. Next to him, someone from Lithuania, somebody from Germany, someone from Indonesia, Ethiopia, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, from all over the world. You could just think about it. So you get to experience and learn and to create this bond that you would never have imagined or have had if you were just in your own community or only with people that are similar to you. And I personally really love that. So yes, I think the most rewarding is coming back to my study room and venting out my concerns and knowing that people will relate and understand.
Yeah.
The tears, the joy, the laughter, the hanging out after the lab, like all of that was it's a bubble, but it's a beautiful bubble to experience. So that was one.
Would you say that this helped you out of like bad situations that you've been in?
You have no idea.
Definitely, like during PhD, we'll have these lows. So did that help you, or what else did you do to get you out of that situation?
So that saved me a lot. That literally saved my life. Like in real situations, like whether it's health concerns, whether it's personal worries, whether it's stress, whether it's just someone to understand. Like my friend from India would, when it's Eid, would knock my door and go on YouTube and learn how to make a specific like dish and make it for me and say Happy Eid. And like people are just very genuinely kind and just nice people. So, and they would be there through thick and thin. And this is almost everybody's experience in Tsukuba. It wasn't just the people are just genuinely really nice and they stay there for a long time. So that is one that saved me. Something else is you need to have a hobby. You need to find a way to de-stress. Like this is the reality.
Yeah.
If you're a gym addict, head to the gym. You're in Japan, there's so many places to run, to do things. If you want to do yoga, there's circles for practically anything you could join. The reality is, this is something we should talk about later, about the reality of coming and thinking you're going to have a Japanese community, but it's very different than you will not have. Generally, it's the international students that are your community.
Yeah.
But again, there's some great Japanese people I met, but generally speaking, your community are generally foreign-based from around the world. Now, that's a hobby, is second. Third,
what is your hobby? Let me ask you, like, what did you do to vent?
Okay, so as I said, I love traveling, I love hanging out, I love discovering places. There's so many places around that we could go, and I traveled all over Japan. Like I've been to Fukuoka, to Okinawa, to Osaka, to Kyoto, to everywhere, like Kobe, literally everywhere. I had a Japanese friend who drove us all around. Japan as well, and we went on different trips. So there's so much out there like that you can do, and I love exploring. Japan is amazing in terms of the attention to detail and the specific seasonal like foods and seasonal things to do. It's amazing. It's mind blowing. So the experience was really rewarding. I love that. I like reading too. If it's just a quiet evening, I would read different books. I love speaking and hanging out with my friends as well, helping them, helping people, helping each other whenever we had events, whatever it is we might do. So yeah, that's another way. So those are among a few of mine. I love cooking. So that was one way I used to. So I created Yemen in Tsukuba. Everybody knew me in Tsukuba for cooking. So everybody's like, we're going to Mimi's, we're gonna eat. So I would make, the whole like dishes, and I have like 10 people in my house and everybody's eating and having a wonderful time. So yes, I was known for that, but yes, that's another hobby that I have. So yes.
Nice. Yeah, cooking is an interesting thing. Like many people vent using cooking, and I wish I could cook. I cannot cook to save my life, but Yeah,
yes.
so I see. Probably like I've been asking you, Miss, so many questions right now,
not at all.
but we're going to conclude this with one last question. If there's anything that you would like to talk to our audience, something that you would give advice to somebody who's interested in doing PhD in generally and doing PhD in Japan specifically, what would you tell them to do?
Okay, that's a lot, but to be honest, I will tell you that rethink or think twice before you go into any, whether it's master's or PhD. Think about the reason why you're doing it. Do your research in terms of ask people who have gotten it before. Check with even your people in your field if you're a medical expert. See why do you really need it? First of all, do you really need to get this degree? What will this add to your CV? How important is it? What is it that thing can offer? That PhD or that research can offer that you cannot get, for example, from doing experience elsewhere. So I think do your diligent research. Like make sure you ask people, make sure you read about it, make sure you know why you're going into it. Don't just go into it for the sake of going into it. Because to be honest, it's not easy, and it's one hell of a journey. It's very rewarding in terms of growth, but you want to know at the expense of what, right? So why are you actually partaking on this journey? Where do you want to go? Make sure you ensure that wherever you're going, don't be like me. People were like, what is wrong with you? Who goes to Japan to study social sciences? Continue your IT. Like, what is wrong with you? So yeah, I got that a lot. So make sure, not that I regret it, every experience is a great experience, but make sure you consult. I know it's difficult, especially in our part of the world, to get role models or people with that much experience in your field that can help you, but reach out to people. You would be amazed at the information you'll get if you just reach out to someone. Reach out, contact people, ask, do your diligent research, and any experience is a learning experience, of course, but just make sure you know what you're getting into somewhat. And I hope and wish you all the best in whatever you do.
So, thank you very much, Dr. Maryam.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It was very, very interesting and eye-opening to listen to you, because I really had no idea like how do social sciences go, or like this whole field was basically a mystery to me. And thank you for explaining it.
Not at all. My pleasure.
Yeah, I hope you guys also learned, like I learned today from Dr. Maryam. And yeah, we'll see you in another episode.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. In here, we talk about science, the stories behind the research, and the struggle and the success of the scientist. In the Scientist podcast, everyone will learn something new about the science while also learning about the stories of the people behind the science. I believe by hearing these stories, we can start to recognize and appreciate the efforts of these researchers. So hopefully you enjoyed today's episode and you're going to subscribe and follow. So do it if you haven't already, and see you in the next episode. Peace!